What's up, family? Hope y'all having a good day. Definitely feel the fallness of it all. Well, it's another beautiful day to be alive, as they say. You know, it's got some Walking Dead vibes happening out in the world today. Everybody's walking around like a freaking zombie. But do our best to survive, as they say. You know, do our best to survive, do our best to thrive. Yeah, phone like that. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, not going to work and whatnot. It's not the worst thing on the planet. Like I said, nowadays it kind of reminds me of the pandemic. When I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was February or March, when my boss gave me the call and said, you know, don't worry about coming back to work. We'll let you know. And I was just like, that's when the pandemic got real for me. I was like, oh snap. You know, it was that was when it was like, oh man, this is crazy. Interesting, changing. And the world was never the same again after the 2020 pandemic, you know. People are more on edge. I wouldn't say more people are happier. And you know, remember, during the lockdown, that's when people spent the most time on the internet in human history because there was nowhere to go. But another thing to take into perspective is like, and then the baby boomers, that was the time because the world was sitting at a standstill for the most part. That was the time for the baby boomers to had the opportunity to learn how to utilize technology more. So, like I said, it was an interesting time, to say the least. But just make sure you can still see me. Yeah, it was an interesting time, to say the least. But it was a time to be alive, you know. And now in 2025, going into 2026 is an interesting time to be alive, you know. The world has changed, and I think, like I said, for me, I think going into 2026 is going to be a lot less optimism for people than it was. Kind of like when people were going into 2021, there was a lot less optimism for people, and people's jobs weren't the same. A lot of people's neighborhoods weren't the same. I mean, especially if you look at, so the number 4 states that changed tremendously was California, New York, Texas, and Florida. California and New York saw a big increase of people leaving the states, of those states, and specifically the whole state of California. And then New York, specifically New York City, just because they got, number one, they got tired of the high cost of living. Number 2, they just got tired of the lockdowns. So that's just one thing to take into consideration. People got tired of that. And then a lot of people went to Texas. A lot of people went to, a lot of people were already going to Phoenix, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada from California before the pandemic. I think it just intensified. But Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas got a big influx of Californians. And some New Yorkers at the same time. And then you had a lot of Californians had to go back because their job said, hey, you got to come back, or we're going to cut your salary. You had a lot of Californians like, hey, I'm not feeling this Texas heat, because Texas heat is something special. Shout out to Texas, though, because I was just there. And then you just had a lot of people that was just like, okay, this is, you know, a little too much for me. It's just not for me. And it is what it is. The same thing with Florida. Like Florida, not as much Texas, but definitely Florida, because Texas, like I always say, shout out to Texas. Texas has a way better economy than Florida does. Texas is not a tourist state like Florida. You know, people retire in Texas, but people can still get a decent job in Texas compared to the state of Florida. So that's why, you know, Florida's had this massive influx of people now leave. Especially a lot of the retirees have left Florida, not just young people, but retirees have left Florida because they're like, hey, this is too expensive. So I can get something better in Georgia, I can get something better in Mississippi and Alabama, and if I still want to go to the beach, they have their own beaches in, you know, in Alabama and Mississippi. You know, shout out to Biloxi and shout out to Mobile, or you can go to, what is it, Jacksonville, Florida. You know, I mean, my bad, not Jacksonville, Florida, but Wilmington, which is right next to Jacksonville, North Carolina. You know, Charleston, South Carolina. So, you know, there's always options for people to go other places. But, you know, the moral story of this rant today is 2020, there was a massive reset in the U.S. economy. Right now, there's a massive reset in the U.S. economy, whether people want to believe it or not. It's, you know, that's not up for me to convince you. It's just one of those it is what it is situations. I'm glad you peeped that minivan, because I was just like, yeah. But, yeah, it's just up, like I said, it's just up to people to actually see it on their own and whatnot. Come on, man. But that's just how I look at it. You know, it's just up to people to see it on their own, you know, as far as the massive reset. And when it comes to the people who are into politics, that's cool. Do what you do. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you don't vote for. That's your business. But I will say with all sincerity that, let's just say hypothetically, if the House flips next year in the congressional elections, the main thing that's going to remain the same is that the cost of living will still go up. Inflation's still going to be a mother. When it comes to rent prices, home prices, when it comes to goods and services, things of that nature, that's still going to be high as all get out. And things will probably still be as chaotic. So having that plan outside of thinking outside of the box and living outside of the box is a real freaking thing. But it's up to you to want to do that. You know, I can't put it any other way. And nobody can force you into it. You know, I always say it's just like, hey, I'm not here to force you to think any kind of way or implement things in another way. It's up to you. You know, that's why I say when I say make money moves or live broke like a fool, I mean that. You know, to the people who've lost their jobs, to the people that are affected by the government shutdown. You know, hope you have money saved up. Hope you have money invested, and hopefully you have some side hustles and whatnot. You know. The beautiful thing about, like I say, Gen Z is they know that they're stepping into a job market that is very, it's not all, it's you know, it doesn't make sense to be a quote unquote faithful employee. They know that, you know, heck, I'll never forget, I think this was like back in 2016, 2017, this real, I can tell he was a nerd / intelligent guy, but I remember this guy said that, it was at a car shop. He's like, hey man, by the time I get out of college, there'll probably be some artificial intelligence that'll take over, or some robot to take my job. I'm just like, dang, this kid couldn't have been no more than 20 to 21 years old, no older than that, you know. So, but he knew what it was. He wasn't stupid enough to think that, you know. It's like I said, having a conversation with this 26-year-old who looked like he was about 19 at the gym 2 weeks ago. You know, he was just like, yeah, I don't want to work for anybody my whole life. He's like, when it comes to cryptocurrency is the wave. That's just going to, you know, cryptocurrency and real estate, that's just going to take my life to the next level. He says he was investing in real estate in Puerto Rico because he's Puerto Rican descent. I was like, I can't even get mad at that. And then there's always just, you know, the saying, you know, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready is real, because there's always this massive threat out here of of health situations, you losing your job, losing income and whatnot, you know. There's always something. It's like, I mean, there's a reason why having some sort of, you know, car insurance, like I'm in a car right now, homeowners insurance, renters insurance, life insurance, you know, that's another thing to have on top of just having, you know, money saved and things of that nature. Why? Because you never know when life's gonna kick you in the butt. Nobody can really predict that. You know, you never know when something's gonna happen. It's actually weird driving over here this time of day. But yeah, you just never know when life's gonna kick you in the butt. You never know when, you know, things will come at you, and things, you know, are you prepared? This is one friend of mine on social media who's an entrepreneur, and I remember when I think she tore her ACL or hurt herself one way or the other, and, you know, makes me proud because I see her, she's back in the gym working out regularly. She was hurt. She was doing, she was actually doing home workouts. So she didn't let life, you know, life ticked her down, but she got back up, you know. It's like me when on my recent trip, I kind of hurt myself, my lower back area, and, you know, I could sit at home and sulk, or I could wipe my face and get back up again. What the heck are they gonna build over here? You know, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to my regular gym because I'm trying to do like a mini workout, and then I'm gonna get into the jacuzzi and get in the sauna and whatnot and try to relax. But you know, and that once again, it's just like life, you know, can kick you down. But are you gonna get back up, or are you gonna stay stagnated? Or are you just gonna sit at home and soak? Or are you just gonna sit on social media and soak? You know, these are the questions that I can't answer. Only you can answer. So, it actually felt good to just put the phone right there and not have to worry about how I look on camera, just focus on talking. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this world is crazy. This world is different. You know, we're going to see what happens. Shout out to the UK. Depending on what happens in the next week or two, I might have to reschedule my trip to London next year, which is not the end of the world. I mean, it's not like London's going anywhere. And if it does, then so be it. Because, you know, it's a bucket list trip. So maybe probably better to go anyways when the weather's better. Because I was going to try to think about rescheduling my trip on my birthday, which is in January. But I said to myself, I looked at the weather, how the weather would be. And it's like, I think the warmest it would be in the UK would be 45 degrees. If I'm lucky, 47 degrees. I'm like, I'm not trying to go across the Atlantic to a country that's freezing cold. That's not my idea of a good time. You know, I learned that lesson the first time I went to Seattle in November. I was freezing cold. That's a big heck no. At the end of the day. But it's all good. The weather's nice. You know, I figured I'd try to get out of here before the traffic gets too crazy. I hear ambulances coming this way. All right, cool. Yeah, I figured I'd try to get out of here before the weather gets too crazy. Hopefully the gym's not too full. See what kind of workout I can do since I'm not at 100%. Yeah, it's just like, there's but so much, for me, there's but so much hanging out I can do. So, I mean, being in the house I can do. I gotta be productive somehow, some way. Your brother's gotta be productive. You know, that's why I said I don't know how anybody can just sit around and not do anything and be cool with that. You know, I'm just like, I'm so cool. Chin Trail Clips. So, but anyways, it's all good in the neighborhood. Looks like it might be a little quiet here today. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, as I always say, do the great 3 free things. Like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully you guys have a great day. You know, as I always try to say, make money moves or you're going to live like a fool. As I say in Spanish, bienvenido a la vida. Welcome to the life. Don't forget, if you're a stock market investor, crypto investor, individual retirement account investor, don't forget to check out Webull/acornscrypto.com, Coinbase. If you're a frequent traveler like myself, don't forget to check out become a part of my travel team. Link will be in the description. And hey, let's complete the mission. If you want to subscribe to the channel, cool. If you want to contribute monetarily to the channel, since my demonetization has been taken away, you can hit up my Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all that good stuff. But either way, have a good day, be blessed, and stay positive. I'm out.